Noles for my life. What's it about Miami that kids keep heading over there? Do they really have that much more NIL investment? Our guy, James B. My question, how come we have defeated Florida and Miami 2 seasons consecutively, and they continue to out-recruit us? Remember the days when winning mattered. I do.
Me too. But you're not in the days of NIL either, James. So some kids are very NIL centric, where if they get a big deal, they're gone. They go there at that time. As I said, let it play out for the full year for what happens. Because, like I said, those deals are exciting first, but then as the season goes on and you see the overall picture of your recruitment, those other schools look better. And it's not that FSU sucks at NIL or anything like that. It's just these teams put more into being NL centric and NIL centric. And as I told you guys, FSU's not like that. They're not going to do that. They're going to value guys. Yeah, I think the misconception, like, people act like FSU's NIL is just like non-existent, and it's not. It's very good. I mean, you could go back to several recruitments where they had a better deal than a lot of schools that are even Georgia, teams like that were there, but the kids just decided to go to another place. But I don't think it's so much out recruited as it more the NIL centric stuff has affected kind of their standing with certain recruits. And if you're NIL centric, no, FSU's not gonna. They're not gonna pursue that, guys. They're just not, and that might piss off people, and it is what it is. But, and I've said this, I had a good talk with my friend Daytona Knoll that moderates our site, and I just said, look, I mean, they're going to be near top 10 every year. FSU will probably, some years they'll be a little higher, maybe in that top 6 and maybe push for a top 5 range, and then they'll get a really strong portal class. At the end of the day, it's about your roster. It's about getting the best players. It's not about just getting the best high school kids all the time. Those days are long gone. I think people seem to lose that side of what's on your roster compared to what's on your commitment list for high school. So high school is very important. You want to get top guys, but there's a balance of mixture that you have to have with the portal and in recruiting and high school recruiting and the way you do stuff. You can't change stuff of, hey, we're all of a sudden going to be NIL centric and then start getting these kids. Like, what use is it getting these kids if later they just leave anyway because you're not consistent with your messaging? So I think that's what FSU is good at. They know what their standard is. This is what we do. This is what we want. And I think it certainly works when you look at the roster and how they put together the roster year after year, the last 3 years.
Speaking of guys sticking around, we're going to get to a question here about Rainey-Sale from John Culver earlier on. Somebody else is also asking about it too, but I wanted to pop open the comment from Greg Glass. I'm sure I speak for many if it hasn't already been mentioned, but why should we not feel like CJ Wiley is this year's KJ Bolden?
I think the family's different, first of all. Secondly, when you decide that late, like he did, he decided really late. There's a lot of visits. And two, FSU wasn't recruiting KJ Bolden with the length of time that they recruited CJ Wiley. They've been recruiting CJ since a freshman. There's a lot to stand out there. Now Georgia's had some certainly talented receivers, but you're comparing, like, Georgia's also done well at the defensive back position when it comes to KJ Bolden, so that's easier to sell than compared to FSU, who just came off a really good development year with Johnny Wilson, Keon Coleman. It's something that he can see. Georgia doesn't have that, so there's an advantage there. So there's a lot of factors that it wasn't just, hey, I feel good at FSU. It was like there was a lot of thought into this stuff. I mean, his dad played in the NFL, played also in college, so he knows, he's been through this stuff. So I'm sure they took a lot of detailed time in looking at every angle, what they're doing, and seeing just. I get it. I see how people would piece that together, but I don't sense it. I'm not saying it won't end up the same way, but I just don't anticipate it will. Just based on the recruitment and the different ways that they've recruited him.
Fair. Go watch the dog. Don't do it now, but go watch the Dog Nation commitment, because you mentioned it when we did the video, Michael, and I did not see a announcement video. I just saw like a tweet come down.
Yeah,
I actually saw his like announcement, And man, like he's again, like I was like, what? This kid's coming to Florida State? And like that entire room just like fell absolutely silent. So did the people announcing it, like the commentators for Dog Nation. So I
Yeah,
get people having like some of that apprehension, but as Michael said, it's a different kind of recruitment, different level of relationship. But
yeah,
I get it too, man. Like, it's weird because, we make videos and take, victory laps over getting commitments in May and June.
right.
And we still got to wait till December. But at the same time, then you guys get upset when other kids. So it's either we got to embrace the fact and think it's a big win in the month of June when you get a kid, or not think it's a big deal and apply that to the other schools too. Just it's crazy when we're like, I don't know about our guy sticking on, but then it's like, oh,
Yeah,
Max Buchanan go to Miami, it's over. Like fire Alex Sack.
yeah. There's a lot of hypocrisy of stuff we hear. I saw it on the PRB the day Wiley committed. It was like, oh, we're not going to keep him. Hold on to your cheeks or whatever. Just different things of
Yeah.
okay. And then when Max commits, it's kind of like, oh, it's over and deaf. It's like no, there's never any chance that FSU can win a recruitment late in the year. It's like you can't have it both ways, guys. It's I've told people this last week. No recruitment. I don't care if the kid says it. I don't care if the kid shuts it down. No recruitment is ever shut down until they sign. And
Mhm.
even then, they can leave anytime they want. There's nothing that stops them from going in the transfer portal. But every recruitment is open, guys. So what you see now, there might be a lot more commits added during the season, and they might lose some guys. But there's a full season of recruitment. It goes a full way, and you can't just look at it one way. Well, FSU gets well, I don't know if they'll hold on to that guy. But if somebody else commits that FSU is supposed to get, then it's like FSU can't get them. That's silliness. That's just not being realistic. And I get it. You don't want to build yourself up and get let down or whatever, but that's just not the way recruiting works. FSU will be fine. I do feel it's going to be a top 10 class or around there. I think it's going to be exactly what they're hoping, and I just want to kind of bring people back to reality that it works both ways, guys. You can't just be this devil advocate that wants to argue about everything. You have to be stuff where you have factual common sense that goes into both sides of it.
John Culver asking, what does, or rather when, Zaydrius?
I call him Zay. I call him
You're
Zay
smart.
Rainey-Sale.
Smart.
I just cut it down to Zay. Zay visited on that. I think one of the June weekends. I want to say the first weekend. I could be wrong, but visited officially for FSU.
Hey,
Went
real
really.
quick, Michael, sorry. Do you
Yep.
want to tell me how I can actually find that on his recruiting profile? Like, is there something I can hit where it can show me like when he actually visited campus? Not to
All
call out like our On3 database, but like I can't find it for some reason ever.
I would love to tell you because I've actually searched for
Okay.
that myself.
Yeah.
So
Oh,
basically,
there we go. Here we go. There it is. Visit center. All right.
okay,
So it was the 14th and unofficial, the
okay,
14th.
yeah,
There
June
you go.
14th. So yeah, I mean, there was a lot of buzz early when he took his first visit to FSU, and then we know Washington came in, but then Kalen left, so then that opened up the door, and then he came back for this official, and he had eyes on July 1st. So everything I've gotten so far, guys, and I have checked with a bunch of people, and they feel like FSU's in the pole position. They feel like FSU's in the pole position, even though I know that number up there doesn't really make you feel good, 94%. But what I've been told is that it looks likely for FSU. Now, I do think it is FSU and Washington. I don't buy that, him going back to his old coach that he committed to with Alabama with Kalen. I feel like being in a comfortable situation is really big on Zay. It isn't just, hey, if I go to Alabama, what if he leaves again? So once guys leave, I think a lot of kids, like Gavin Nix has shown, they really love the stability of FSU. So when you have that, and then they have the development, there's a lot to sell there, and I think that's part of the stuff. A reason why I think FSU is kind of positioned themselves where we're hearing it's likely. But it's definitely not definite. I haven't heard like, hey, he's called FSU and said, I'm probably coming, guys, but I definitely feel like everything I've gotten so far, as of whatever the date today is, it looks likely for FSU at this point.